Hello, everyone. My name is Folakunle Oshun. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria, and I've been quite afraid about this moment, and I somewhat prayed it wouldn't happen because I essentially would be like giving a short critique of foreign cultural centers on the African continent. And I really like the guys at Helvetia, but um, I think some things just have to be said. So the image behind me is a source from Chimurenga, and I had thought of doing this map before, and then I met Antone, who is the director, and he said, "Oh, we have something like this on our website," and he was gracious enough to send me this soft copy. So it's quite blurry, and I think they did that with an intention so that, for copyright reasons, but it just sort of shows where you have foreign cultural institutes on the African continent and sort of what they do. For the purpose of this presentation, I will focus on institutions that operate in Lagos, where I'm from. And so that's basically the Goethe Institute from Germany, Institut Français, Alliance Française, who else is there? British Council. And yeah, maybe, Helvetia somehow, because this is like my third encounter with them. First was in Basel this year, and I'm just beginning to get, their vibe. And it's also quite strange for me because this is my first time in South Africa, and the culture shock is immense for me. I mean, I've been to literally every country in West Africa by road, and being here is like, this is another continent by itself. And so I'm trying to sort of reconcile that with, the Swiss and, my knowledge of the continent, and everything looks strange. But I think there's some parallels that, I can draw from just the vibes that I feel and that I get from here. So yeah, first thing, maybe a disclaimer that, a lot of the views that I'll be sharing are really personal, and they're not representative of any institution that I represent, or it's just me as an artist speaking my views, my opinions from encounters, from engagements that I've had with these institutions, over the years in trying to produce a cultural event in Lagos, which is the Lagos Biennial. So I'll just give you some brief background or history as to how the biennial started. So about 2 years ago, I was, just making work in my studio, and then I got an invitation to Dakar to show as an artist, and it was a very critical point in my career as an artist because I was almost giving up on life and art. I made an exhibition, and it was just another exhibition, and then I got this invitation to Senegal to show, and I was pretty excited. It was like the biggest thing that would happen to my career, and then I, went off there. My work got shipped, and so it was the first day of the biennial, and something dramatic really happened. So the story I'm about to tell is a story that I've told in quite a number of places, but I never really get the reaction that I expect, because it seems very placid and normal and usual, and this is how it is, and there's nothing you really can do about it. And yeah, so we were invited by the French ambassador to Senegal for a dinner, and so there's 64 invited artists with a couple of curators and special projects, and you had to have this really pretty invitation to get inside. So in the evening, around 7, 8 o'clock, we all went to this guy's residence, the size of a football field, right in the center of Dakar. And it was really strange to me that, why would an ambassador have an apartment residence this big? And so, whatever. We got into the residence, and we were welcomed by about 30 French military officers from the Navy, Air Force, and they were all dressed in their ceremonial gear with medallions and their ranks and everything, and a couple of them were with their spouses, and it felt really strange, to be welcomed for an art event, in Senegal, in Africa, by French military, officers, and this just artists, all we wanted to do was like have a good time. And for most of the evening, from what I remember, nobody really talked to any of these guys. And in my own deductions were that, this was just a way for the French to say, who's in charge, like, we're the ones who are here, and just reaffirming that. And I have had like a couple more experiences that, especially, in Senegal, that sort of reaffirmed that notion. And, it just sort of did something to my mind. And I had been thinking for a while about, doing something in Lagos, an art festival, and then, what do you call it? And so we spoke to a couple of people. They were like, nah, like a biennial is too problematic. And I'm like, at the end of the day, what does the biennial mean? Something that happens once in 2 years, so Lagos once in 2 years, cool. And it's a format that is age old, and we thought if we were gonna get the punch that we needed, or the attention that we sort of craved, it would be great to call this thing a biennial and then do whatever the hell we wanted to do, with that name. And it sort of worked out, and one of the priorities was to have something that we would have control over, and, which was sort of unusual in a place like Lagos, where for a long time the director of the Goethe Institute was, it was sort of a code word where he was seen as like the minister of culture, because everything had to pass through him, in a sense. I mean, not that every single art project, but if it really was going to happen with the right funding, you will need to go through the Goethe Institute. And I can't think of a single Nigerian artist that from Ellen Atsui to Bruce Onabakwe, to all the big names, who either had their big breaks from the Goethe Institute, or at some point had some level of collaboration, to Wole Soyinka, to Chinua Achebe, to everybody goes. And it was really disturbing for me, especially as, I feel in some sense I am, like most artists, radical. Like, okay, we talk about colonialism and post-colonialism. Like, what exactly is this post-colonialism? It's either, we're still being colonized, or we've moved past this post. There's no middle ground to this thing. And, the next thing will be, how do you produce a biennial, which will have like an international feel without money? Like, these guys have allocations for this sort of events, and you just walk in and you ask for the money, and they give you the money. It's a biennial, great. And so it became, how do we engage with these people? How do we not sell ourselves short, and have like our narratives sort of stolen or corrupted, because you have to have all these big logos everywhere on your material, and it's always been disturbing to me. And so we made certain like partnerships and deals, which always ended up in, we will support an artist from France, we will support an artist from Germany, we will support an artist from Switzerland, we will support an artist from Australia, but, we can't give you any money. But we're in Lagos, we're in Nigeria to support, Nigerian art, Nigerian culture. And then I started to ask the question, what exactly is the mandate of these institutions? Why do they feel the need or the burden to be on African soil? Like, most African countries had independence 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago. Why the need to take the position as the orchestrator of culture, on major African cities? And I still can't find an answer to that. In the build-up to this, I told Joseph that I was going to be sharing emails, about from my experiences with a couple of persons in these institutions, and then I felt that probably would threaten, my own opacity, and that's what I'm trying to move away from. And I also asked him a really, I think, important question, like, why do you feel the need to have so many delegates in this conference? This reminds me of Dakar, 66, Vestac, 77, Algiers in 69. Why do the Swiss feel the need to do this? Why are they collating all this data and all our juice, And I don't know the answers, and I'm not asking for the answers. I'm just saying that, I'm doing my own little bit, in my capacity in Lagos, and I feel that, at some point, there will be no need for foreign cultural institutions on the African continent. I have been vocal about the fact that I feel the British Council in Lagos needs to be relieved of this burden, because they really have become like redundant and useless to even themselves. So it's just a building, and I can't sort of draw a line between being treated like scum in an embassy in the morning and then, being lovey-dovey in a cultural institute in the evening. And all these guys, you see them at parties, having wine, and they're all like from the same country, they're all the same. It's like they're spies. What exactly are you guys doing? Like, why are you here? I don't know. And I will feel like a player. I will feel, like I'm being dishonest if I just come here, Director Lagos Biennial, and it's all good. It's not all good. I also get asked the question, like, so now that you identify with these people or you go for their events, you're also complicit. And I'm like, no, I will always go to every table to dialogue. This isn't exactly dialogue, and this is probably a rant, but I feel they are the ones who should be afraid of me. I shouldn't be afraid to identify with any country or any institution or whatever. They should be the ones afraid to say, if this guy comes here, he's going to say, exactly how it is. This person or this institution, is critical of the work that we do here. And not to say that the work that these institutes do is not relevant. That's not where I'm going. It's not like land disputes or anything. It's more of saying that there is space for homegrown cultural institutions in Africa. I am overwhelmed by the work that they do in Accra with Charlie Wote. My mind is blown by the art institution in Kumasi, the KNUST. That is like, I think that's going to become some mecca for theory in African art or that context. There's the old lady Dakar, there's Lumumbashi, there's the guys in Kampala, there's Cairo, and I think a lot of these institutions need more support. Foreign cultural institutions can support African art in their countries, build an Africa museum or an Africa center or something, and because it's sort of like a cancer, and it's choking because the first thing you think about is, I'm going to write a funding application to these guys. And that robs you of your own ability, your own agency to even think and do things on your own. People say, so how do you fund a biennial in Lagos? And I don't think that's a question. I don't think I need to give a workshop on how to run a biennial in Lagos. There are 22 million people in Lagos. How many people can possibly see a biennial? If you charge everybody $2 or $5, you're covered. It's as simple as that, simple mathematics. And everywhere I go in the world, I pay to see art. So why should stuff be free? Because it's in Africa. I think there's great opportunity, and there's a lot to be done. Thank you.